What's up guys, I'm Skylar. I finally read To All the Boys I've Loved Before. So if you've been living under a rock, then you probably don't know what this is. They made a Netflix movie about it and it was like a big hit. I've always wanted to read it even before the Netflix movie came out. It's about a girl and she writes letters to all the boys she's loved in order to get over them. So one day all those letters get mailed out to all these boys and stuff happens. So if you ever read the book, go read it, come back, and we'll talk. To all the boys I've loved before, you were a roller coaster of emotions. I cannot even describe the pain and the heartbreak and just the love I felt when I opened this book and I read through the pages, and it was such a great story. And let's just say the movie had a happier ending than the book. It takes a lot for me to crack. Before, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, I had only cried over 3 books. I was just getting closer to the end, and I kind of had this feeling that it was going to end like I didn't want it to end. I told myself, if this ends in heartbreak, I'm going to cry. And at the end of the book, I was sobbing. But anyways, so Lara Jean. In the movie, it's pronounced Laura Jean, and I pronounced it Lara Jean when I was reading the book, because like it looks like Lara Jean, you know, and I've always just like pronounced that name as Lara. But I have heard it as Laura, and then in the movie it was Laura Jean, and I was like, okay. So I don't know what you guys pronounce it as, but I'm pronouncing it as Lara Jean, because I mean, I don't know if how they pronounce it in the movie is actually pronounced. I mean, we all saw that in Percy Jackson with Poseidon. Let's start off with Kitty. Kitty and Lara Jean get into this big fight at the beginning of the book, and Josh is over. She was telling him that Kitty wanted a dog, and she wanted to name him after this guy that she likes. The guy that she likes was Josh. And so Kitty got all upset because she thought that Lara Jean was going to spill the beans, and so she held this big grudge against her. And then like the next day her letters get sent out, and I'm like, it was Kitty. It was Kitty. But then she like got all mad at her dad, and then her dad was like, oh, maybe I did. And then I was like, well, maybe it was her dad, I don't know. And then at the end of the book, Kitty was like, I mailed out your letters. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was so right. And then Margot. Was I the only one who thought Margot was like a bitch? Because like, poor Josh. I was really mad at him like the whole book. But I mean, poor Josh. Like seriously, way to lead him on. It was even worse in the movie when he like brought out those plane tickets and she was like, why would you do that in front of them and stuff? Like, why would you break up with him the minute you were like, oh, I'm going to college in Scotland? Like, that's just too much. I mean, the poor kid. And he's not going to college anyways. He's still in high school. But I was still mad at him. But there were so many times, like this memory would come to mind in her head about Josh. And like there was one time when they were like walking home from school and stuff. And like he said something and then she just wanted to kiss him. And then he was going to, and then she got scared and she was like, oh no, you know. It was just so heartbreaking. Like I wanted to cry. It was one of those moments where I wanted to cry because I so felt for Lara Jean. And then I was kind of upset because like every single time she has a chance to be with someone, she blows it. Not because she's a jerk or she's mean, but she just gets too afraid. And I was like, why are you so afraid, girl? I mean, just go for it. There was just so many times where I was like, my heart, Lara Jean, stop it. Okay, let's talk about Peter now. Peter. Oh, Peter Kavinsky. You pull my heartstrings so much. Peter's awesome, like, but Peter just really annoyed me, and he didn't do what I wanted him to do. At first, I was like, okay, he's kind of a jerk. But then I realized it was just like the whole Genevieve thing. I mean, they've been together since they were in 7th grade, and they're seniors now, you know? Well, wait, no, they're juniors. Like, that's a long time to be with someone. It's like Peter thinks he's nothing without Genevieve, and I don't know, I think Genevieve just rubbed off on him, and he just became like an asshole. I thought it was so good when Peter walked up to her and he was like, just so you know, I don't have any STDs. And I don't take the last slice of pizza. And Larry, she's just like, what? And then she sees the letter. She's about to faint. She's like, okay. When Josh came up to her with the letter and she freaked out, she was like, I'm over it. I have a boyfriend now. It's Peter. And then she goes and runs into Peter's arms and kisses him. It's like, whoa, Lara Jean, who are you? She's just this shy girl. And then all of a sudden, like, she doesn't want to deal with Josh. So she goes over and she kisses this, like, random guy. Like, not so random, but kind of random. And I like how we met him before all that happened, when she got in that car accident. I loved all the interactions that she had with Peter. I love that, like, the whole book just showed everything she did with Peter, and it's just the character development with Peter was so amazing. Honestly, the whole time when she was like first dealing with him, like, and being boyfriend and girlfriend with him, I mean, like, I liked him sometimes, and then other times I was like, okay, this jerk off. But then we started to get to know him more, and I, like, kind of a little bit understood him, but then I was like, okay, why are you being so mean? Every night he'd, like, go to Genevieve's house, and it's like, how is anybody going to believe that you and Lara Jean are together if you keep going to Genevieve's house? And then he's like, well, you've got to understand, because Genevieve and I were such a big thing, and, like, we're always gonna mean something to each other. And I'm like, bro, Genevieve's a bitch. So I don't know if that's the case. I think she's just trying to control you and hurt Lara Jean. I love how Peter, when he first met Kitty, like, they were in his Audi, Kitty had to sit on Lara Jean's lap the first time, but then the second time, he wasn't a jerk, and he didn't bring his Audi again. He brought the minivan, you know? And, like, that was so sweet because, I mean, it's a minivan, and he's, like, the most popular kid in school. And since Peter was always worried about what other people thought of him, and that was why, like, he and Lara Jean didn't work out in the end. That was, like, a big step for him to bring his minivan so Kitty could sit in the back seat. He was, like, a really cool character. He's, like, one of my favorite characters of all time. I think it's because he just has so many flaws, but, like, you can't help but love him because he's a nice guy, and he doesn't really seem like a nice guy at first, but that's just because he's afraid of what people think of him. But anyways, he was so nice. He wrote her all those notes. I mean, it was so sweet. Like, he said he only did it because, like, it would piss Genevieve off because she wanted him to write her love letters. At the end, Lara Jean had thrown away all the love letters. Kitty gave it back to her. And, like, we went through all the love letters, and it was so sweet. Like, he was like, you look very pretty today. And I'm like, I miss you, Peter, come back. My heart, like, I wanted him to, like, say he was sorry. He was supposed to come back. Or, like, even just text her, like, I'm sorry, can we talk, whatever. But he didn't, because he doesn't know the first thing about girls. It makes me so sad, because I really loved him. I love him. And I love him and Lara Jean together. And it didn't work out. And at the end, she wrote him a love letter. Another one. You didn't do anything wrong. You just didn't say, I'm sorry. Peter Kavinsky ruins me. We will never be over Peter Kavinsky. I'm going to write my own love letter to Peter Kavinsky, to this book, because it hurt me. I need to find closure. Like Lara Jean, I'm gonna be like Lara Jean and write my own love letter. Hopefully it won't get sent out. Okay, I don't know about you, but I kept forgetting that Chris and Genevieve were cousins. When she was complaining about her, and she was like, you know, our grandmother, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Like, I just kept on going, and then I just figured out, I was like, oh yeah, they're cousins, I forgot. They're so different, and I just forget that they're related. Like, how can they be related? It's completely, it's a mystery. I have no idea. Anyways, I really liked Chris. Chris made Lara Jean, like, step out of her comfort zone. She was kind of like Peter a little bit. Peter did those same things. That's why it was good for her. Because he made her step out of her comfort zone. And I loved that she got to hang out with all of his friends and stuff with the guys. And it was so cute. When they gave her the nickname, it was like, you know, your name sounds like large if you say it fast. She's like, more like largy. And they're like, well, we're gonna call you large because you're so small. I really liked them. They were so fun. And it was all over because she and Peter broke up. So let's get to the ski trip. It was 2 days. She was supposed to ski. Peter was supposed to teach her how to ski, but she ruined it by sitting with Chris. I just wanted to grab her and shake her and be like, what are you doing? Like, go sit with Peter. Chris is sleeping. Like, she doesn't care. You should know her by now. She's like your best friend. And poor Peter, like, and he was so upset about it when he was like, couples sit together on the bus. It's a given. People notice. And she's just like, I don't get the big deal. And he's like, ugh. He was just like so upset at Lara Jean because she had no idea. And she was upset at him for sitting with Genevieve. And it was like, okay, who else was he gonna sit with? I mean, maybe the guys, but they have their own girlfriends. That whole fight, I honestly, I liked the fight. Because, like, Peter pointed out what I had been saying, like, the whole book. Because every single time there's a chance for her to, like, be with someone, to have a relationship, to flirt, to, like, do anything, she takes off running. And he's just like, what do you know about guys? You've only liked 5, and what's the common denominator? You only like guys you don't have a shot with because you're scared. And then he tells her, I think I started liking you. Then, like, they just get into this fight because she doesn't believe him. And she's like, you still like Genevieve? And he's like, what Genevieve and I have is completely separate. I did agree with Lara Jean there because, like, that's the thing about Peter, he just doesn't get girls. So he was like, well, what's the big deal? Because with guys, it's like, whatever. Like, who cares? And Lara Jean's a girl, you know? She wants Peter to only have eyes for her. And right now, he kind of has eyes for her and Genevieve. So, like, I don't blame her there. And then she goes back to her room, she thinks about it for a second, and then she's like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And she goes into the hot tub with him. That was my favorite scene in the book, was the hot tub scene. Because Lara Jean, she was still unsure about it, but she was like, you know what? I'm going for it. And she went for it, and she went in there, she sat in the hot tub, and they made out, and it was really, like, hot and sexy and awesome. And I was like, go Peter and Lara Jean, whatever your ship name is, I ship it, my ship has sailed. And then the next day, Genevieve ruins it. And she tells everybody that they had sex in the hot tub. Poor Lara Jean, because, like, everybody believes it. This is one of the times when Peter is a jerk. Because he's too worried about what people think of him, and he doesn't squash the rumors. Because he's like, who cares? Because he's a guy. And, like, that's one of the things, he's just, like, he's kind of selfish. Like, I love him and everything, but he's kind of selfish because he's too worried about what people think of him. He's not worried about what people think of Lara Jean. And Lara Jean is like, it's different for girls. Girls are vicious. Like, if somebody finds out that you had sex in a hot tub, even if you didn't, you're like a slut. And he doesn't know that because guys are just like, whatever, like, right on. He didn't squash the rumor. He should have thought of Lara Jean's feelings. Especially when Lara Jean came up to him and talked about it. Like, even if he still hadn't squashed the rumors, and he realized right then about Lara Jean's feelings, and then went and told everybody Genevieve lied, we didn't, Lara Jean would have forgiven him, and it would have all been okay. But he was just too selfish. He was like, who cares? Like, we know the truth, they don't. The problem is Lara Jean cares. And if he cares about Lara Jean, he should care about what she cares. And it just didn't happen. And they broke up. Margot decides that they're going to have one of those recitals that they had when their mom was alive. Like I said, I think Margot is a bitch. I mean, like, when she found out about Peter, she was like really mean. Like, he's not what I expected you to have for a boyfriend. And then Josh was too. It's like, okay, really? What? Who cares if you wouldn't expect them to be together? Like, just be happy for her. Like, you're her sister. And Josh, you're her best friend. Like, support her. She wants your support. And you're not giving it to her. So, if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all or just lie. So then, they decide to have this recital. And Lara Jean doesn't want it because she always hated it. And then Margot is just being a big bitch about it. Like, yeah, I'm better than you at everything. But that's not my fault. Ugh. I liked her, but then she was just a bitch. So then Kitty invites Peter, and he comes over, and he's like, I want to talk. They go in the kitchen, they start talking, and it looks like they're going to work things out. And then what does Josh do? He comes over and tries to pick a fight with Peter. Like, yeah, that's exactly what Lara Jean wants you to do. Good job, Josh. Like, you're a real ladies' man. I thought they were going to work it out. Peter has too much testosterone to back down, and Peter's always been upset at Josh anyways. And so they get into a fight, and Margot's like, what the heck? And then she finds out that Lara Jean liked Josh the whole time, and she was upset because she didn't tell her. I was like, okay, really? It's all about Margot, isn't it? Margot. Like, you're done with the guy now. Who cares? Why do you care now? Just because she didn't tell you. She was so upset at Lara Jean. And, like, honestly, I think that caused her to still be mad at Peter. Then Peter did not come through in the end. I don't know if he ever came through in the end, but we still love him, don't we? He breaks our heart 1,000,000 times, but we'll just let him in again and again and again. I let him in 1,000,000 more times, just saying. It's sad, but I love him so much, okay? Does anybody else feel me? Like, it's Peter Kavinsky here we're talking about. Like, who does not fall in love with Peter Kavinsky no matter how much of an asshole he is? It was just such a good book. It was a good movie. I liked the movie. I wish it was a little more, like, book accurate. I didn't like that they were together in the end, but then again, I just like it if the ending is the same as the book, whether it's a tragedy or not. I wish they had more scenes, like, in the book, like the road trip, but I understand it's, like, time constraints. But I mean, really, like, who cares about time constraints? Just make a 4-hour-long movie and all the book fans will watch it. They won't care. Anyways, so that's all I have for today. I think this is a series, so if it is, I will definitely be reading the series. Like this video, comment. I just got my first 2 comments, so thank you. You know who you are if you're watching this video. You made my day when you commented on my videos. So thank you for that, and make sure you subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye!